We lost Gemara 1. Hello. We lost Gemara 1. There we go. And you're sending this over YouTube, correct?
Okay, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. You're sending this over YouTube?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
And do you want this recorded?
It can't, but this account can't record. That's why we're doing it today.
Right. Okay. So the YouTube will manage that. All right. We've got it's 8:02. Are we ready to start?
Okay.
It can't record on this account, so don't worry about it. That's why
Okay. It's 8:02. Are we ready to start?
We are ready to start.
Okay. I will let everybody in and then just give it, a few seconds.
Face this way. All right, well, I'm going to follow Josh then.
Well, we'll face this way.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Get ready. Alan, are you going to step out of the camera's view? Thank you. All right. I am about to admit all. Here we go.
Hi. People are always leaving things around this shore. Find them. Oh, look at this, a lost object, an Ahavas Achim. Who comes to shul, takes his pants off, and just leaves them and goes home without his pants? This is Ahavas Achim. Does this belong to anybody? Come talk to me if this is yours. Welcome to our very first episode of Bringing Gemara to Life. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And thank you for all of our surprise guests. I don't want to give away the surprises yet who's joining us tonight. And thank you to everyone who's working in the background to make sure that this runs as smoothly as possible. We're probably aware that there is a mitzvah of Hashavas Achim, that you have to return a lost object. But what we're going to talk about tonight is actually the Mishnah tells us that not every single object that you find, not everything that's lost, has to be returned. The Mishnah tells us that Eilu til shalom, the Eilu chayim la'achris, that there are sometimes a lost object, you're supposed to return it. It's shalom, you're allowed to keep it, it's shalom. And there are sometimes that you're chayim la'achris. You have to announce it. You have to say, I found the lost object, whoever it belongs to, please come and find it. And like any time we learn a Gemara, like any time we learn a Sugya and Shas, the place we have to start is not with Gemara, it's not with Mishnah, but it's with the Pesukim. We have to know what the Torah says about this mitzvah, if the Torah talks about the mitzvah at all. So the Pesukim that talk about the mitzvah of Hashavas Achim, returning lost objects, comes out of Parshas Ki Teitzei. The Torah says, Lo sira ashur achicha o aseu nidachim, that you're not allowed to find, or you're not allowed to look at the ox of your friends, or their sheep that's nidachim, that is wandering about, the hizamamta mehan, and hide yourself. You're not allowed to say, you know what, I don't really want to deal with that right now. Rather, hashev tishiveim rachi. You are obligated to return this lost object. You're obligated to go take the ox, to go take the sheep, and find who the owner is. The second pasuk, V'im lo karav achicha ilacha, and the person who it belongs to does not live near to you. They're not your neighbor. They don't live in your town, maybe. Below Yadata, when you don't know who it is. So in such a case, the Safta of Toch Beisata, you have to take the object, you bring it to your house. You put it in a safe place. So then you hold on to it. You're going to guard it until you're able to return the object. And sometimes if it's an animal, you're allowed to sell it. Sometimes it's an animal, you have to keep it. That we're not going to talk about tonight. But you're supposed to hold on to the object until you're able to find who it belongs to. And finally, the Torah says, the last pasuk, that you have to do not just for their ox, not just for their sheep, but also for their donkey. And that you have to do for their clothing, their pants maybe. And that you have to do for anything that they lose. And you find it, you are not allowed to hide it. Once you find a lost object, so then you have to do the mitzvah of Hashavas Achim. So how do we know if it's a lost object? How do we know if it's something that the person has given up hope, has totally lost, and they have no hope of getting it back? And how do we know if it's something where, like the Psukim say, that you have to go and you have to take it and you have to hold on to it until they come to find it? So there are two principles. There are two main principles. Number one, and we'll speak about this at length tonight, is the idea of yesh. Yesh, as you see this person over here, is to feel a sense of despair. To feel like I'm never going to see this item ever again. And if a person feels yesh, so then that item becomes hefker. That item becomes totally ownerless. And so if they are despairing, they're feeling they're misyayesh, they say, I'm never going to see this ever again, you get to keep it. You find it, finders keepers. But if they don't feel a sense of yesh, they feel like they are going to get this item back. One day they will see this again. Someone found it and they're going to be able to retrieve it from them. So then you actually have to find the owner and you have to give it back. So what's the difference between yesh and not yesh? Feeling despair and not feeling despair? The difference is, does it have a simon on it? Does it have an identifiable sign on it? I'm able to tell someone, oh, well, you know what? Actually, it says this on it, or that's written on it, has my name on it maybe. It was placed in a certain way, and that way I'm able to identify that it belongs to me and I get it back. But there's no simon to it, so then that is something that you don't expect to get back. So the person who found it is going to get to keep it. So what's something that has a simon on it? I'll give you an example right here. Something just like this. This softball from the 2014 Ahavas Achim softball team, champions might I add, and it has a simon on it because I know that it says Avi, I think that's Avi Cerner, and it says Judah with a C, so I know that's Judah Abraham, the captain. And we have Daniel, I don't know if he was 94 or 44, but he was definitely on the team. Abraham as well as on the team. And we have Ethan, I believe Wasserman was on some of the team, and Donnie Leskowitz was on the team. And so this is the simon. I know people put their names on it. I know who it belongs to, and I'm able to go ahead and to return it to the person. But if it's something that doesn't have a simon, say like this soccer ball, it's just a soccer ball. It could be anybody's soccer ball. I don't know who it belongs to or who it doesn't belong to. And so therefore I'm able to keep it or not. So the Gemara goes through a whole number of cases. The Mishnah goes through a whole number of cases, 10 objects in total, where if you find them, then you are able to keep them. And so the Mishnah says that Elul Tzilas Shalo, that these are the last objects that you are allowed to keep. And they are as follows. Mata Peres Zarin, you found fruits that are scattered about. So then in that case, you are able to keep the fruits. Mos Mithuzaros, you find money that is scattered about. You are able to keep the money. Krichos, Bershot Rabin, you go and you find grain, bundles of grain. So then you're able to keep the grain. The Igule Devela, you find these fig cakes, date cakes, which you can actually find in Superfresh if you want to go ahead and buy one. And if you lose it, someone else is able to keep it. Kikaro shall not them, the bread that was cooked, that was baked by a baker. Machrodos shall dugim, the fish. This is the way they used to sell the fish. They would take it and they would put a needle through it. They would string it all together, and that is how they would sell it in the marketplace. But it would be just like fish that you find in fish sticks you find in the store. They find a box that you don't know who actually bought it. You don't know who bought it and who it actually belongs to. V'chatichos shel basar, or if you find just meat, the meat that you would find at Glock 27 that was in the package, we don't know who bought the meat, we have no clue who it actually belongs to. So you find that you have to keep it. You find the wool the way it was just taken right off the sheep. There was nothing done to it. It wasn't changed in any way. But Anita Pishtan, you find bundles of flax. The next case and the final case is Lashonos Shel Argamon, is where you find wool that was combed and it was dyed purple. So if you find any of these things, you're able to keep them because it's just like things you would find in the supermarket. You find a box of Power Flapjacks on the ground. You don't know who bought it. It doesn't tell you, has no indication of where it came from, who it belongs to. So you could keep it. Or you go ahead and find Dr. Pringles. So you know that it belongs to someone with small kids, but Baruch Hashem, there are many families in the show with small kids. You don't know exactly who it belongs to. So just like these items, the items in the Mishnah, if you find it, you are then able to keep it. So tonight, primarily, we're going to be focusing on the second pair of the Gemara in Bava Metzia. It's the pair known as Elu Metzios. And the Ezer Hashem, we're going to do an entire daf tonight. We just did the Mishnah over here, and we're about to bring the Gemara to life by showing the real cases of the Gemara, starting on Aleph, from Aleph, going on Amud Beis. So we're going to start by looking at the Gemara, analyzing the very first case that we read from Mishnah, Matzah Peiros Mitzvah, when you find scattered fruits. And we're going to see exactly what it means when you have scattered fruits, what it means that you don't have scattered fruits, when you can keep it, and when you can't keep it. So let's bring the Gemara to life.
Oh, wow, scattered fruit. Wonder if I'm allowed to keep them. Let's measure and see. Well, where's my tape? My tape measure's gone. My tape measure's gone. Okay. Let's see. Feet, thumbs. Okay. Rabbi Yitzchak says that scattered fruit is a cob of fruit scattered with an area of 4 amos. So if we use our tape measure, we see that 4 amos by 4 amos. So we'll see if a cob is 1 1/4 liters, which looks like this. So I do get to keep it.
So the Gemara is going to clarify for us when this measurement is relevant.
Well, maybe, because if these were dropped here by accident, then it doesn't matter what the measurement is, whether it's a lot or little, you can keep it. But if it was placed here on purpose, then that is not then that's not really lost. Iderach nefila afilu tuba nami. Iderach hinuach afilu b'tzir mehafi nami lo. So maybe I should just forget about it. Not so fast. Rav Ufla Bar Chama says that this measurement of 1 cob within 4 amos is in a case that the farmer is bringing his produce back to a silo. This case is called the Machnashta de Beidarin, literally gathering into his house, into the place that he is going to process it. If it is 1 cob within 4 amos, no one is willing to put in the work to go back for it. But if it were more than that, a person would put in the work and would go back. It is psychology 101, a calculation, effort versus financial benefit of the owner retreating.
So what the Mishnah and the Gemara taught us so far is that there are times when no matter what the value of the item is, a person's just not going to put in the effort to go back for it. The example here is a pile of fruits. There's a certain number of fruits that we're not going to put in the effort to go and pile them up and bring them back. We'll make them hefker. We'll make them ownerless, we'll make them free, and we'll say, okay, whoever wants to get it is able to pick it up and to come and to get it. And so we have such items even in our own shul. Sometimes at the end of Kiddush, you'll have, I don't know, a few donuts left over. And we'll say it's not worth saving the donuts. We're not going to serve them next week. Maybe we are. But we'll just say whoever is going to come and take them, they can have them, they can take them home. Because it's, even though they have value to them, it's not worth the effort to collect them and to save them for the following week. So the Gemara is now going to look at different variations of this, not just one cow within Daled Amos, not just one cow, the liter and a quarter within about 6 by 6 feet, but it's going to say, what about more common? What about less common? What about more amos? What about less amos?
I wonder what the halach would be if it were a half a cup within 2 amos. Great question. Would it be that 1 cup 4 amos is a lot of work and a person wouldn't readily put in the effort, so we consider it ownerless? Or would it be that just like 1 cup within 4 amos is not so significant, so too a half a cup within 2 amos is not so significant? And your question made me think of another question. What about 2 cups within 8 amos?
Oh, yeah, great question. Because if 1 cup within 4 amos is a lot of work,
Definitely a lot of work, and so it would be considered ownerless. Or maybe 1 cup within 4 amos is not significant, and this is significant, so the person would not make it ownerless. This might sound a little crazy, but what if it were sesame seeds? Would the halacha be the same? I'm not sure. I mean, maybe since they're so significant, a person wouldn't want to make them ownerless. But maybe because there's so much work to collect, a person would not want to put in that effort. You think it would be the same with fig or pomegranates? If a cob of other fruits within 4 amos is not significant, I think figs and pomegranates are the same. Or maybe figs and pomegranates, they're so easy to grab and carry, something the person would not make ownerless. I guess we'll just have to say, take two. Always making me figure things out to do.
Go through a bunch of cases, we consider, well, maybe this possibility, maybe that possibility, maybe if we change the case like this, maybe if we change the case like that. When we try to talk about, consider all the different variations, we try to see, okay, what if we say in this way? What if we say in that way? And then at the end of the day, we don't come up with any answers. This answer sounds good, and that answer sounds good. So the Gemara says, Teku. Some people say that Teku stands for Tishbi, Yataritz, Pushios, Abayos. That Tishbi Eliyahu Navi, when he comes, B'mehervi and Meno, he is going to answer all of our questions. That's probably not what Teku means. But still, the idea is that we're not going to be able to answer it until the Yemos Mashiach, until we're told the answers. But even if we can't come up with an answer, it's very significant to have the discussion. Because let me ask you, who's the GOAT? Is it Michael or is it LeBron? Are we ever going to come up with the answer? But it's a good discussion to have. Because when we have the discussion here in Halacha, what we're doing is we're trying to flesh out and see all the different possibilities. Because learning Gemara, it's not just about the answers. It's not just about the conclusion that the Gemara comes to, but it's about the process as well. Because if we discuss a question and we come up with one answer, we have one answer. But if we understand the process, then we're able to answer questions that the Gemara never even thought of, things that have to do with cars and things that have to do with technology and things that we deal with in 2025. So when we have a Teku, it's all about not just understanding the one case, but how are we able to make that, broaden that to many other cases as well.
And with that, we have just brought the first Amud in Perek to life. And we are turning the page now to Daf Chaf Aleph on the base in Perek, in the second Perek of Bab Metzia. And we're proceeding with the next fascinating variation within the laws of Ahavas Achim, the case of Yeyush Shalom Midas. Let us review for a second. We said that Yeyush means losing hope. The tool, the device that allows the ownership of an object to transfer to the person who finds it is Yeyush. When a person experiences Yeyush and loses hope, the object becomes Hefker, free for the taking. The person doesn't experience Yeyush and the other person takes it, he's a Ganav, he's stealing it. So the question becomes, we talked about things that do have a sign, a symbol, things that don't have a simon. What about the case of yesh shelo midas? Is it possible to experience yesh without knowing it? Is it possible to lose something and to give up hope before finding out that you lost that object? It actually is a more common scenario than you would imagine. Very often, we don't find out that we lost something until 2, 3 hours or days later. I mean, those pants have been sitting in shul since the Nixon administration. So who knows the owner, if it still fits. So we have to understand the rules of yesh shelo midas. So we're going to now examine some scenarios and get to the bottom of this case of yesh shelo midas. So let's go to our Ahavas Achim players.
Oh, wow, a toy car. I've always wanted one of these. I wonder who lost it. And I wonder if they realize it's coming.
Just a second, wrong century. Wait. If they don't know that they've lost it, hang on, if they don't know they've lost it, that's yesh shelo midas. And I say that yesh shelo midas is not yesh. And you're not allowed to keep it. Only if a person realizes they lost an item and has given up hope of getting it back, are you allowed to keep it?
Absolutely, they can keep it. I say yesh shelo midas is yesh, because the owner is going to give up hope of getting it back as soon as they realize they lost it, even if it's not needed.
Well, I've never seen a more compelling Abaye and Rav in my entire life. Now, what are these guys arguing about? This great Abaye and Abaye and Rav. They're not arguing about a davar sheyesh bo sim. They're not arguing about an object that has a symbol, it's an identifying mark like the softball with symbols on it. That can't be, because everyone agrees. Abaye and Rav both agree in that scenario, when davar sheyesh bo simon, that because the person will not give up hope when he finds out about it, before he finds out that it's lost, he also doesn't give up hope. And you definitely can't keep an object that has a symbol. They must be arguing about instead a davar she'ein bo sim. They must be arguing about a case where there's no identifying mark or symbol on the object, and you do not know that it's lost yet. That's where Abaye and Rav argue about yesh shelo midas, have yesh, or lo have yesh. Go back to our Gita Moran.
I'm only talking about items that don't have a symbol, don't have any way to recognize them. Even when you drop them, that is not considered to be yesh because you don't know that you dropped it.
Yes, but they'll figure it out eventually they lost it. And when they do, they'll say to themselves immediately, there's no way to recognize it. I'm never going to get it back.
Okay, guys, let's try to make it easy, okay? We're going to use that first piece in the Mishnah of scattered fruit to try to illustrate this, right? What did the Mishnah say? The Mishnah said, can you keep or not scattered fruits? What did the Mishnah say? You can keep it. This Mishnah is talking about a davar she'ein bo sim that has no sign, and you can keep it. So is that not a proof that you can keep it? A proof to our friend Rava, the yesh shelo midas, how they yesh. After all, these are scattered fruit. There's no sign, and I keep them. So it sounds to me that
Whoa. Wait 1 minute. I think this is different. This is not talking about yesh shelo midas, because we just said that a person, they left it there. They weren't going to put in the effort to go and get it. So it's not yesh shelo midas, it's yesh midas. The person did it on purpose. This doesn't prove anything.
oh, excuse me. So I forgot about the case of Nash the Vedar. I forgot that our Mishnah is talking about a case where you intentionally left it there. Oh my. All right, let's try another proof for the Mishnah. We're going to use the next case in the Mishnah to try to prove one of these guys is right, or the halacha follows this. The case of ma'os mefuzaros, the case of scattered money.
No, that's also different.
How so?
People are constantly checking to make sure they have their money. A person doesn't lose it without realizing. As soon as it's gone, they'll know it's disappeared and there's no way of recognizing it. So they'll give up hope. Everyone agrees about that. The sample applies to any valuable object. Your phone, your laptop, your wallet, your Fitbit, your Apple Watch, your sunglasses, All of these items, a person makes sure to keep safe, and if it goes missing, a person knows it right away. The same can be said of something that isn't so expensive, but has personal significance. A keychain that a child or grandchild made for someone. It's not worth much, but that person finds it very significant, and for that reason, they are constantly keeping an accounting of where it is to make sure they have it.
Okay, so we have rejected the first two proofs. We tried to use the Mishnah to bring a proof to Abaye or Rava, and the first two proofs were rejected. The Gemara continues and goes on and on and on and on and gives 12 proofs in total from various things of Tanaim to see if halacha follows Abaye or Rava. And the Gemara concludes, and after bringing proofs that are adequate to both sides, the Gemara says, what do we do? Abaye says, lo have yesh. Rava says, have yesh. The Gemara invokes the principle of Ya'al Kigam. Ya'al Kigam is not a word or a phrase, it is an acronym. And it stands for the 6 cases in Shas where the halacha follows Abaye over Rava. And the Yud, Ya'al Kigam, stands for Yeyush Shalom Midas. So the Gemara concludes, therefore, that in the situation of Yesh Shalom Midas, lo have Yeyush, and therefore, even though they're both logical and both right, we follow our good friend Abaye.
Yeah, I win.
Yeah, so you win 6 times and I win how many?
Nah.
All right, gentlemen. As we have brought Gemara to life tonight, we'll take your questions pretty soon on the Zoom, so hang out. I want to review 4 different principles that came out about this Gemara. First of all, we learned about the great mitzvah of Hashavas Achim, that a person is not allowed to shy away from. We have a responsibility to care about the objects that belong to our neighbors. Second rule, we learned that the obligation to return a lost object is based partially on whether or not the person is expecting it back. If the person is not expecting it back, then we can keep it, it becomes ours. If the person is holding on hope of return of getting it back, so then we will have to not take it ourselves, and we will have to return it.
We also, number 3, learns about the very famous machlokas between Abaye and Rava, whether yesh lo midas have yesh or lo have yesh. If a person loses something and they don't realize that they lost it, but one day they're going to realize, whether it be a couple hours, whether it be 24 hours, 1 day, 2 days, and a person finds it in the interim, are they allowed to keep it or are they not allowed to keep it? According to Abaye, yesh lo midas lo have yesh. It is not considered to be yesh, and the person who finds it is not allowed to keep it. But according to Rava, yesh lo midas have yesh. You are allowed to keep it. And so therefore, a person finds it in the interim, they can keep it. But we said, Ya'al Kigam, and the Yud stands for yesh lo midas. And in these 6 cases, we hold like Abaye. So the halacha is that a person loses something, they didn't realize that they lost it. If someone finds it in the interim, they are not allowed to keep it. And the 4th and final thing that we learned is that when there's something that has value, whether it has an inherent value or whether it has a personal value, that's something that a person is going to constantly make sure that they know where it is. That's something that they're always looking after. We know that our wallet is in our pocket. We know that our phone's in our pocket. We know where our money is. We know where the keychains are that our children and our grandchildren make for us and they give to us. And if those are lost, a person knows immediately. So if somebody else finds it, it's considered to be as if there's yesh midas, that a person lost it with knowledge, and the person who finds it is able to keep it, unless, of course, there's a simon on it. There's some sort of way of realizing, of finding the owner and giving it back to them.
Ahavas Achim members are, very careless. They keep losing objects that are precious to them. I just found this dog wandering around the shul. I have no idea whose it is. So we're going to have to use the next sugya of Mitzia to decide, should we return this object? Is it a davar sheyesh bo siman, a davar she'ein bo siman? Do you want the responsibility of a 4-legged creature in our shul? I'm not sure about that, but the Gemara will talk about this in many, many, many other cases. This is just a taste of bringing Gemara to life. We thank you all for joining us with the first episode. We will continue next Tuesday night with a completely different sugya from a different Masechet for a taste of another area of Shas. We hope you all join us then. We thank our special guest actor and our other human actors for joining us.
That's what Robin's doing.
Okay. And we'll now entertain any of your questions about Bat Mitzvah or dogs. Thank you very much, everyone. Give us 10 seconds to set up the rest of the Zoom. Good Abba.
Don't eat the seeds.
Okay. Any questions on that?
Okay, everyone. Are there any questions on the chat or any questions about the Gemara from any of our viewers tonight? I know. Are there any questions on the chat or any questions about the Gemara from any of our viewers tonight? I know. No, one is raising their hands. Where is the chat? Here's the chat. Okay. Where's the question? Okay, first question. How do you know whether the owner realizes the object is lost? You want to take that one?
Great question. So we go based on, it's a great question. We go based on what we think is the most likely. We obviously don't have it. It doesn't say on it, I know this is lost, or I don't know this is lost. But there are items that indicate to us that they would know that it's lost. And there are items that indicate to us that they don't know that it's lost. And so you hear now. And so therefore we have to look and we have to figure out, is this something where they know, where it's going to indicate that to us that they know that it's lost, or is it going to indicate to us that they don't know where it's lost?
Yeah, it's really psychology. You have to really know people and know about their attachment to objects and take your best guess. And it's a little dangerous because if you guess wrong, so then you're a ganav. So we're playing. So Hashavas Achim is either a huge mitzvah or a huge avera. It's not neutral. Lo suchal lesalim. You can't look away unless you can look away. So that's why knowing the nuances of halacha is very important, and we just scratch the surface of it. Okay, next question. In terms of fruit.
One thing that we didn't talk about that is very, very important is, where did you lose it? If you lost something in Ahavas Achim or around Ahavas Achim, so we assume that Jews do mitzvos and that someone who's going to find it is going to do their best to return the object, unless it's something that we're sure that if you lost it, you know you lost it, like money. Where really the ikar halacha is, if you lost money, the real halacha is if you lost money, you don't necessarily have to return it unless there's some sort of sign to it, like you have a bunch of bills wrapped together with a rubber band or something like that. But if you just find a couple pennies on the ground, a couple quarters on the ground, you're allowed to keep it. But not if you find any of our quarters that we dropped, because we're hoping to get all these back. But if you drop it somewhere else, maybe not in Highland Park because there are so many Jews in Highland Park, but in New Brunswick, so then we would assume that anything dropped in New Brunswick, it doesn't matter who dropped it there. The assumption is that not a Jew is going to find it, and they're not going to be so eager to find who the owner is, and you're not going to have any hope of getting it back at that point.
Okay, the next question was, in terms of fruit, if it goes bad, that's true. So it's considered something that doesn't have to be returned. Like, what do you do? It's a very important question. You take an object that you're watching for someone else in your house, into your house. Now what? You're a shomer. So what's your status? You're a shomer aveda. That's a sugya in the 6th parak of Bava Kama, the status of a shomer aveda. Are you like a paid watcher or are you like an unpaid watcher? There's a certain responsibility you have to maintain. What if it's not fruit? What if it's an animal? What if it's a dog? You should probably feed the dog that you took into your house and not let it starve. But that's a very, very relevant question. And there's sugyas all over Shas that detail the responsibilities you have towards the object once you do take it into your property. Okay, next question.
What if you find something on the street and someone says it's theirs? How do you know it really is? Maybe they just want it themselves. Excellent question. Excellent question. So really, this is why we have a simon for, and this is what the Mishnah was trying to tell us, that there are some things elu mitzil shalo, ve'elu mitzil shechayev lahachriz. That there are some mitzios, some lost objects you get to keep, and some that you have to go ahead and you have to announce. And we went through the list of those you're allowed to keep, and they're the ones that have no simon, no sign on them. And so if there's no sign, there's no indication to whom it belongs. And someone who comes up to you and they could say, yeah, I lost a soccer ball. Well, every soccer ball looks the same. So why do I have to give it back to you unless there's something unique about it? You wrote your name on it or something. But if there's no sign on it, so then you're not obligated to give it back. Maybe if you really believe the person, they make a convincing case and they're able to tell you that it was theirs and they somehow lost it, then you could give it back and you'd be doing an extra mitzvah, going what we say lifnim mishur asadin, going beyond the letter of the law. But really, as the Mishnah said, if there's no sign on it, then you get to keep it.
Also, I believe if someone is proven to be a distrustworthy person, someone who's like a known liar or cheat, even if they do state the simon, you might not be obligated to believe them. So it's a very good question, and it's a really practical one for all of us because we're always losing things and always finding things, especially in shul. Question: why wouldn't a person saying it's theirs be better than a simon?
It's a tough question. It's a great question.
So it's a question of eidos, right? There's a principle called hamotzi michavero lav haraya, right? One who's taking an object from someone else, the burden of proof is on them. Right now, I, as the finder, have the object in my house. I did a mitzvah, davar sheyesh bo siman, and I have it in my house. So when you come along and you say it's yours, you have to prove it. You have to prove it. You have to bring a raya. Now, it's possible that eidos in certain situations is a raya, but I don't believe an eid echad, one person testimony, is enough to transfer ownership back from the finder to the alleged owner. So it's actually a fascinating inyan of the nature of chazaka, the presumption of ownership of the person. Possession is 9/10 of the law, is kind of true in halacha because of haraya. And to overcome that, you might need more than edus, and you might need some type of other proof besides your own testimony.
And to go along with that, we also, going back to Psychology 101, we believe that a person's not going to lie to you if you did a favor for them. So you lent them money, they're not going to lie to you and say, you didn't lend me any money. But if you didn't do any favor for them, we don't necessarily believe that a person is going to tell the truth. They might make something up in order to get away with what they want. Whether it's you ask them to watch something over for them, you might lie and say you never gave it to me in order that they get to keep it, or they might see that you picked up whatever item it is and they've always wanted one of those, and so they're going to examine it quickly and make a convincing case as to why it's theirs. So we don't necessarily believe them because there's no reason for them to tell the truth in that case.
Okay, next question, keep them coming. The son of Eliyahu Hanavi, for an aveda with a simon, is there ever a point after multiple hakrazos of announcing for a long time that we can assume yesh? Well, we had a similar case where the Gemara talks about a case where something's washed up on the shore, a flood came, shatfa nahar, a flood came and washed something away, even with the simon. We say, there are cases where we say, even with the simon, you have yesh l'midah. So you're asking specifically, what's the time point or what else has to happen in order for you to finally say, I can keep it? You have to keep it in your house forever. You have to set it aside for Eliyahu. What do you have to do? I actually don't know exactly when it pivots. Do you?
If I remember the Gemara correctly, This is good chazara for anyone who did Bava Metzia a year ago in Daf Yomi. But if I remember the Gemara correctly, you have to announce it for the Shalosh Regalim. You have to announce it for for 3 Regalim in a row, because that gives people a chance. And then I think a week after, because that gives people a chance to realize that they lost an item, go home, check. They had smaller houses than we did. So check everything they have, find that it's true. They lost the item, and then go back to Yerushalayim and claim the item. But I think after the Shalosh Regalim, I think you have to just keep it in your house and wait for Eliyahu Navi to come and to sweep up and to tell you to whom it belongs.
Which we hope he'll do one day. Okay, we thank everyone for joining us. See no more questions here, so we will call it an evening, and we look forward to seeing you and everyone else next Tuesday night, 8 o'clock. And we appreciate you helping us bring Gemara to life.